Morning to you, and thank you so much for finding time to being with us today. The show is Unfiltered, where we get to look at the week that was, some of the stories that made headlines across the week, and also look at the headlines this morning. And we do have so much to talk about today. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and I trust that you are okay. So without wasting any more of your time, I'll take us through quickly the headlines, and then I'll bring in my panelists, and we shall start our conversation. The Star newspaper, the main headline: ballot papers delivery splits Iebc top brass. Some commissioners say ballot papers were brought clandestinely into the country without their knowledge. That story is on page 4 and 5, and it will form the basis of our conversation this morning. My 30 years as medical engineer at the Madari Mental Hospital. That story is on page 10. Policeman hangs himself after being disciplined. That is on page 3. And peaceful election will strengthen regional stability, says EU envoy. And you'll find that on the CS page, the political pullout on the Star newspaper on page 5. The Daily Nation, the chaos at Iebc, and questions to Wafula Chebukati, about 10 of them. We shall look at that. And that story is on page 12 and 13. Boris falls. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson rode his luck throughout his career, bouncing back from a succession of setbacks and scandals that would have sunk other less popular politicians. But the luck of a man once likened to a greased piglet for his ability to escape controversies has finally run out after a slew of high-profile resignations from his government. That story is on page 3 and 24. How KRA netted record 2 trillion Kenya shillings taxes. Now, more than 17,000 individuals and companies, Navy, about heightened surveillance, surrendered 8.5 billion Kenya shillings to the Kenya Revenue Authority through a tax amnesty scheme, helping the agency to net a total record collection of 2 trillion Kenya shillings in its ended financial year. The voluntary tax disclosure program, which commenced in January last year, gives evaders immunity from prosecution, penalty charges, and interest if they voluntarily declare their previously undisclosed assets and income. Maybe that is the way to go around it. If you were to collect this money, sometimes the penalties are so punitive, so some just opt not to disclose or not to come clean all the same. But I think that is another strategy that we see is very effective, that the Kenya Revenue Authority here is employing. And I think perhaps that's the way to go. You have to be clever about some of these things. Kudos to KRA. And we turn our attention now to the Standard newspaper. Polls no reverse gear. Iebc engages high gear as it receives the first batch of ballot papers, answers Raila on use of manual register as Azimio leader walks back on his threat to boycott elections. That story is on page 6 and 7. And Ruto: why Uhuru locked me out of security meetings. Deputy President says his firm stand against extrajudicial killings made the president sideline him on security issues. Okay, that story is on page 12. More Kenyan and how they braved torture. That is on page 10 and 11. And of course, KRA nets record 2 trillion Kenya shillings in taxes. That is on page 27. And overweight, that COVID-19 jab may not protect you. All right, that story is on page 4. So now, that is what we have on the front pages of the leading newspapers in the country. I'd like to bring us up to date with some of the papers from across Africa and some from outside, and then we'll start our conversation. The Guardian from Nigeria: NAFDAC joins Research Institute, strike food safety threatened. And then towards making Nigeria's football league competitive and profitable. That is what we have with the headline on the Guardian from Nigeria. The Nation, also from Nigeria: Osun 2022. 4 injured as PDP APC supporters clash in Ede. And then students endorse Oyetola Adeleke. I won't let Obas down. And the main headline: Kuji attack Senate shocked by no CCTV, porous security. I'm not surprised. It's Nigeria. The Daily Telegraph from the UK. Prime Minister's long goodbye leaves UK in state of paralysis. That is the main headline, and The Guardian also from the UK. After 59 resignations and a cabinet revolt, the unprecedented the unrepentant Boris Johnson finally agreed to resign as Tory leader yesterday, sparking a row over when he will actually depart. It's over. It's almost over. That is what The Guardian is saying there. And The Citizen from Tanzania, how investors made money from equities, and investors who put their money in shares of 7 listed domestic entities from January 3rd, 2022, sold the same by June 30th, got handsome returns on the investments after stocks rallied on the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. Okay. And then the Daily News from from Tanzania. TZ touts Kiswahili global rise. Yesterday we were celebrating World Kiswahili Day. Remember, it was recognized by the United Nations, and the day was set apart a couple of years ago. So it is actually 2021 November. And so I think, yes, this was the first time. All right. And government issues order to expand Kiswahili use, which is a good thing. Even our neighbor in Uganda, I think right now Kiswahili will start being taught in schools in Uganda, and we know that African Union also adopted Kiswahili as one of its official languages in the African Union. So it is a good thing. Perhaps slowly by slowly, Kiswahili might just become that our official African language. Who knows? So it's a good thing. The Daily News from Zimbabwe, NPRC promoting peace before 2023 as political tensions rise ahead of crunch elections. A news day from Zimbabwe, doctors, nurses turn mercenary. Okay, that's not good. But that is the headline on the news day. And new vision from Uganda, 110 district accounting officers sacked. That is on page 2. And that is what we have on some of the papers, regional papers and others international. Good morning to you. Right now, I'm joined by Gladwell Kiragu, our correspondent and in-house analyst from Nairobi. Gladwell, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Good morning to our viewers.
All right, good morning to you. And we are also joined by Jevan Karanja. I don't know if he's still in Nanyuki. Jevan, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam, and viewers and fellow panelists. This morning I'm coming live from Nanyuki, and here is very cold, but we are trying all possible to keep warm. Thank you.
Okay, it's very cold here. I don't know if it is as cold as it is here in Nairobi. We are at 15 degrees, and some light rains are being experienced where we are. Yes, so we had to keep a bit warm, and all right. Okay, it is July. Apparently this is our winter, but when you compare to what experiences of winters people have in other places, I think this is it's lightweight, compared to what other parts of the world, experiences during their most cold seasons. But nevertheless, it is cold. Good morning, Kiptanui Savania from Nakuru. Kiptanui, can you hear me? Good morning. Okay, so we shall wait for Kitanui to join us. I think he's having a bit of some technical hitch, but he will join us in a short bit. So we will start our conversation. Before we get even into the Iebc, because that is our main topic this morning, I want us to look at this story of a deputy president. We had a bit talk about it yesterday, but I think it is on page 12. And Deputy President William Ruto has said that President Uhuru Kenyatta kicked him out of a Security Council meeting 4 years ago because of his firm stand against extrajudicial killings. Ruto said that he had raised the issue of the killings with the National Intelligence Service Director, General Wachira Kameru, on the killings, but at some point he stopped picking his calls. I kept on opposing the schemes of hurting people That is why they blocked me from the meeting. They kept on justifying that was a criminal or the other they needed to be dealt with. He said. The DP added that Uhuru has been humiliating him for years. The Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate said he has stomached a lot that few would. The president has humiliated me for a long, and many will bear me witness. I don't think Raila Odinga and Martha Karua would even take half of that, he said. On the deteriorating relations between him and the head of state, Ruto said he has never insulted the president. I called him and asked him if I had at any time abused him, and he said I had not, he said. Ruto said that despite the differences deepening the rift between them, President Kenyatta has refused to dialogue spearheaded by the clergy. Speaking at the KTN News Kivumbi Town Hall, the DP said, ask the clerics, ask the Anglican Archbishop. They tried, but Uhuru refused to have a dialogue. He said he did not want to speak with me. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack from the story here this morning. But first, Kiptanui, I see you've joined. A very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to you. Good morning to all the Punchline in Africa TV viewers and panelists joining you live from Nakuru County.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, and nice to have you this morning. So a couple of things that we need to look at that the DP said here, and let's start with the issue of extrajudicial killings. And I think we had a bit of talk about it yesterday. And so the DP said he raised the issue of the extrajudicial killings with the National Intelligence Service Director, General Wachira Kameru, during the security meetings. But he is saying that because of the stand that he took against extrajudicial killings, that he was barred from attending those security meetings. And I'm thinking, when you are part of when you're a part of a council that looks at the issues of national security, first of all, I think the details from that meeting is something that you should not be out here making public in a manner in which that the DP now is. And this is just my personal feeling. I could be wrong, but I'd like to hear your opinion. I'll start with you, Gladwell.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And yes, I agree with you. Matters, main issues and matters about national security, those are personal, private, and confidential that should not be discussed outside here. So at the first place, the DP made a mistake coming to say that talking about them outside here, it is wrong, because actually you're putting our country at stake. There's no way you can come start leaking off information that you discussed about the security and here. I mean, that is so wrong. Again, Miriam, I mean, let me say, DP said that the president actually has been humiliating him. Miriam, to be honest, the DP abandoned the marriage immediately after the second term. That is when he started his campaign. That is when actually he started brainwashing the Mount Kenya region. He did not start brainwashing these Mount Kenya people yesterday, no. And that's why Mount Kenya people are so much grounded into their decision. That is what he did. Again, Miriam, when you're talking about the judicial, the extrajudicial killings, I mean, Miriam, that's something very private. You're not supposed to even to talk about it. So the deputy president actually has been failing in so many things. Like, and we know one thing: he's always lying. For instance, about the slap issue. We saw even Kithure Kindiki, he came out and said that he's the one who told the letter when the president wrote, but the deputy president actually said it was a lie. Yet that was his voice. So for the first time, can he come out clean? Can he stop actually this PR that is spreading around? I think it is too late. And he's saying that he has never spoken ill of the president. We've been seeing what has been circulating around recently, Miriam. So it's not a secret. Every time here and there, when he's doing his campaigns, he has to talk the negative issue about the government. So when you're talking about the national government, who exactly are you directing to? It is the president, because he's the head. So there's now he can say that actually he has not been talking ill of the president. He has been doing it in out, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. Kiptanui, just listening to what the Deputy President now is saying. First of all, he's saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta has really, really humiliated him all these years, and apparently he stopped he was kicked out of the Security Council meeting 4 years ago. But he's been out here telling us that he is a member of the Security Council. He is the deputy president, so he knows what is going on. So he is on the loop. So at this point, Kenyans could be confused because they don't know what to believe. Because now he's saying he was kicked out of the Security, Council 4 years ago. But the details and the content of the things that they were discussing that time when he used to attend these meetings, is it something that should be used as a political tool, or the deputy president now, do you think he's playing a victim for maybe sympathy on what we could call the fallacy of what do you call it? There's a name for it, but why do you think he's speaking about this right now?
Thank you, Miriam. This is the man who left the government long time ago. You remember there was a show in JK Live, not recently, the other one, which Gladys Bolshole was there with Shamala, not this one of recent. And Gladys Bolshole said, we immediately after 2017 elections, they converged in Serena, and they started immediately for preparing for 2022. So William Ruto has been campaigning. Immediately they took over the power, he started campaigning for 2022. His Excellency the President asked him, you just come, we work together so that after we are through with this, we can be able to campaign. This is the guy who has been in campaign drills. This is the guy who has been bragging that I'm the deputy president. Mimi ndio naibu wa rais na mimi sio mjinga. You see, whatever he's speaking outside there is different from what he's telling us here. Remember the other time he said, he talked about the NSIS after Karanja Kibichu talked of the percentage that Raila Odinga is now moving up. And he said, no, I'm the one who is being briefed. You see, Miriam, there is something that William Ruto is not even coming out to tell us, that he has been humiliated. Who humiliated him? He got out of the government. The last time we had another function in the ICC, the seat was reserved for him. He didn't appear. Recently, we saw recently, Miriam, after a national function, instead of joining head of state, he was busy in Ichungwa's constituency campaigning. So this is the guy who is a liar, he's a serial liar, and there is no good name that can describe the deputy president, William Ruto, than hybrid political conman. He's a liar, he's lying to the people of Kenya to get sympathy, but we are much aware, and people are actually watching what he's speaking. He's criticizing the government. He has been humiliating he has been criticizing the head of state. He has been criticizing Dr. Fred Matiang'i. So nobody chased him out of the government. You see, let me tell you one thing, Miriam. When the deputy president came to Nandi one time, he told people, why are you so worried? You can ask me anything. Mimi ndio niko jikoni. Mbona mpite huko kando? Sasa hiyo jikoni yenye alikuwa, what happened? Thank you.
Okay. All right. So, Jevan, this is what the deputy president is quoted as have said. I kept on opposing the schemes of hurting people. This is on the matters of extrajudicial killings, which he said he held a different opposing position as to what he thought was going on in the country at that time. So I kept on opposing the schemes of hurting people, and that is why they blocked me from the meeting. They kept on justifying that was a criminal or the other, and they needed to be dealt with, the DP said. I don't know, what is your thoughts on this new revelation, Jevan?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam, and our viewers, wherever they are catching this broadcast from. William Ruto, the deputy president, is coming out at this time, not simply because he has a lot to tell Kenyans, but simply because he wants to get some sympathy votes from Kenyans and maybe people who are victims of extrajudicial killings. We know this issue of extrajudicial killings has been a thorny issue in this country since the days of President Moi, when big politicians were killed like Robert Ouko and others. Therefore, this issue that it needs sober minds to discuss and to come up with a solution. This issue cannot be discussed by politicians who are drunk with power. This issue cannot be discussed by politicians who thinks Kenyans owe them the presidency. We need people who can bring solution. What Deputy President is saying, he's just telling us what has been happening. but he is not giving us solution or telling us this is the way forward. This is what needs to be done. When he was at the Security Council, what recommendations did he brought on board that could have curbed the increasing rates of extrajudicial killings? What are his recommendation on how the judiciary can be more effective on dealing with these kind of cases? There is none. Therefore, this shows the deputy president who is just out there trying to do everything possible to ensure he becomes the president. Not long ago, like 1 month ago, the deputy president is on the record saying that he receives the national intelligence reports on a weekly basis. He receives that who if he is not on the government. Therefore, he should come out clear, and we know him for his double stance. We know him from talking from both edges of his tongue. Therefore, this is not something new. But Kenyans should open their eyes and start holding the deputy president accountable for the failures, for the things that he has failed to do while in office. It is on the same Jubilee government that you have seen people disappear mysteriously. Yeah. You have seen the likes of Jacob Juma, Kenei, and other big people in this country, business people, just dying and disappearing, not to be found. These are people who, when you look around, you'll hear in one way or the other, they were involved in some crime activities. And you see people who are very close to Deputy President William Ruto who are also on that mix. Therefore, there's a lot that needs to be done. And these are not an issue that Deputy President should be bringing at this juncture. When he says that the president has been humiliating him, if he was humiliated, what has he been doing in the government that he is treated badly? What has he been doing going around the country, insulting the president, having his foot soldiers ridicule the president, talk ill of the president, when he is seated there clapping and laughing uncontrollably? Therefore, this shows that the deputy president is the one who has been humiliating the president. He has even gone to President Uhuru village in Ishaweri, and he talked ill of the president. Therefore, and we have never seen President Uhuru Kenyatta go to Eldoret or Wansingishu or Soi or Kapsaret and talked ill of the deputy president. Therefore, the deputy president, William Ruto, should stop these double stands and face the reality, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay. And of course, he's come out to say that he has been humiliated so much by President Uhuru Kenyatta and his allies. And he reiterated that he has never insulted the president. And as a matter of fact, perhaps he is the one who sent the clerics. Remember, who wanted to dialogue and mediate between him and President Uhuru Kenyatta. And the deputy president said President Uhuru Kenyatta refused. And so a lot has played out since then. But Gladwell, as we conclude on this matter, he's saying he's never insulted the president, but the people a lot of people allied to him, insulted the president or spoke about the president in a way that was demeaning and disrespectful in his presence. And they did it maybe during campaign rallies and in public events. And we have that on record. And then the deputy president will stand after that. When you look at the pecking order, he's the one who speaks the last. And when he stands to speak, he does not correct what others said. So Kenyans have assumed that he agrees with a lot of what these people are saying, but he's now saying that personally he has never insulted President Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know if you have any recollection of him doing any of that. Gladwell?
Miriam, as far as I know, for instance, I'm trying to recall the other day, along this week, when President Uhuru Kenyatta actually said that William, what is doing is just yapping here and there. There's a response that the DP made, and actually this time he didn't even say my boss. Neither did he refer to him as my president. He actually said Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm trying to remember what he said, but it was an insult. Ruto has been insulting in Uhuru, and the funny thing is he always talks the last after his people have talked. That is the funny thing. And the other people who are the Kenya Kwanza, the UDA member of parliament, maybe the governor speak and they insult the president. When he's given a chance to speak, he doesn't rectify or say maybe whatever so and so, for example, whatever Millicent Omanga you said is wrong about my boss, you should not be doing it. No, he actually adds salt to the injury. So there's no way you can say that he has never been insulting him. He has been insulting him directly and indirectly. And William is very good actually in clapbacks. So there's no way we can say that he hasn't. He has been doing it, and it is not a secret. The only thing he does, and the only thing that he did, it's the part of the brainwash that actually he captured, most of the Mount Kenya. As my brother Javana said, we've never seen the president go to Sigoi or go to Eldoret and say that, now this man, the deputy president, has done 1, 2, 3, that we should not elect him. No, he has never even done such a thing. But we saw the DP actually in parts of the Mount Kenya coming to actually insinuate what the government has failed to do. Yet he's forgetting that he's still part of the same government that was supposed to deliver and do. And I actually at a point I agree with Uhuru Kenyatta, because when he needed him the most, that is when he was outside here criticizing the same government that is offering him the same privileges that he's enjoying, the security, the vehicles, and the housing. So Miriam, I think it's high time for the DP, that 2 remaining days. Can he stop these clapbacks? Can he just concentrate with his campaign? Can he keep the president's name out of his mouth? Because at the end of it, Miriam, this is what will make us go to a chaotic actually election.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I don't know if Kiptanui, you have something to add to that topic before we move on to something else.
Yes, Miriam.
Go ahead.
If there is President Miriam as a good artist, President Uhuru Kenyatta, can you imagine somebody gets out of the government, he calls people to Karen. Karen is the government house. He enjoys security. He gets money from the government, and then he comes here and tells us that I've been humiliated. I was humiliated by the head of state. That is rubbish. That is very wrong. Miriam, Oscar Sudi, MP from Kapseret, is on record insulting Mangina. When did William Ruto condemn him? Many meetings that William Ruto has been attending. These foot soldiers have been insulting the president. If I was him, I could have, the way my sister Gladwell has said, I could have stood and said, now, it is wrong to do this, it is wrong to do this. If there is somebody who assisted William Ruto and who brought William Ruto from nowhere to where he is now, President Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, Daktari has been saying that President Uhuru Kenyatta paid legal fees for him in Hague. Yes? He embraced him after we fought in 2007, 2008, Miriam. It was very hard for us Kalenjins to accept to join hands with Kikuyu because of the war, because of what we had actually gone through 2007, 2008. But Uhuru Kenyatta, he forgave William Ruto and he embraced him. Tell me, if William Ruto has been telling us he met President Uhuru Kenyatta president, where are the numbers? Rift Valley, we don't have numbers. The largest numbers are coming from Central Province, and that is why he is now coming out trying to brainwash people from Mount Kenya, trying to tell them that I was humiliated, I was chased from the government. For what reason? So that he gets sympathy votes. There is one thing I want to say in one statement, Miriam, that people of Kenya are watching, people of Kenya knows who is William Ruto, and they are not going to give him any chance to lead this country, because the country will be over. Our children, our grandchildren will not have a country to stay. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm still trying to figure out, there's a person who has joined us. So once I'm able to, all right. Okay. Very well. So Jevan, just before we leave this matter, of course, the Deputy President has brought up the issue of clergy. And you were here during those days, I think that was playing out, and we talked about it, and we were joking because at that time we did not know that Ruto sent the clergy. From what he's saying, it appears he did send them to try and mediate and bring peace between him and his boss. And we said, this clergy, there's a possibility, maybe somebody has sent them. And now, I don't know what you make of this, and why do you think he reached out to the clergy to go and mediate, and why do you think President Uhuru Kenyatta refused, from what the DP is saying?
Thank you very much, Miriam. I think the president, we have to give credit to President Uhuru Kenyatta because he was able to read the bad motives of a clergy who have been used by Deputy President William Ruto to go and try to mediate. Mediate what? And the Deputy President William Ruto is a cause of the division, is a cause of the problem. Therefore, you cannot cause problems and purport to be the solution so that you can extract some sympathy votes from Kenyans. I think the intelligence did a very commendable job, because we have known the relationship that the Deputy President had with the so-called clergy, and especially the corrupt clergies who have been enjoying thousands of corrupt money from the corrupt hand of Deputy President. Therefore, it was ill-intended. The so-called dialogue was not to benefit Kenyans, but it was a way of Deputy President trying to come back to government, trying to come back so that he can continue stealing from the public coffers, as he used to do in his first term when he was the man who was calling the shots. Therefore, there's nothing that like dialogue that was being spearheaded by the clergy. It was for their own benefit. These are people who were hired by the Deputy President and engaged Arab like some months ago. And now time has vindicated us. Therefore, I'm very happy that we could read these letters when they were still on the envelope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we are joined by Dr. David Matanga, who seems to be on transit. Doctor, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
Yeah, I am doing well. I'm on the way to some place. And therefore, thank you very much. I might not be very audible, but I am audible. So thank you very much. Today let me remove this hat so that I can be more disciplined on the TV. Thank you. First of all, there is no clergy in this country. They are only commercial agents who have commercialized the religion. Very few people are still clergy. Very few people are still Christians. Most of the Christians have been commercialized by Ruto. And he has taken all the money to the churches. He has spoiled the money, the churches. And yet even Emperor Caesar said, give to Caesar what is for Caesar. Jesus told people, give to Caesar what is for Caesar, and to Jesus what is for Jesus. So when these guys said that they were trying to mediate over what? You have already collected the money from the churches. There's a bishop there called Oginge. Is it Oginge or somebody? All the time. He has got romance. He's romantic to Ruto's ideas. And that bishop runs around here that he is negotiating my foot. These people cause problems here for this country. Me, I'm not one of them. I thought you were even talking about the main thing. That's why I joined in, and I spent my unit.
We're heading there. There's an interview the DP did yesterday. I think you raised that as an issue, so we're just looking at that, and then we're just heading to the main topic.
Yeah, because I don't want to speak about the bishops. Some of them are not bishops. These are commercial agents of Satan. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's why I've told you all the time, media, I've been telling you, don't go to, you people who want to go to those churches for guitar, you can go, but not Matanga.
Yes, and I go there proudly. But anyway, Doc, what we are looking
you can, listen, you can go, Miriam, you can go there proudly.
Sit in my church, and I'm proud of it.
Okay,
what we were saying, Doc, what we were saying, because he did send the Archbishop for ACK and others. That is the ones the DP mentioned.
That one is
but also
even
what
worse.
he said. What he said.
Sapiti is worse. That one was Sapiti is the worst one. Kwenda mnaambiana ukweli leo. Huyo that bishop of Sapiti and the reverend, the provost, they have spoiled all Saints Church. Wanafikiri sisi, some of us, you think some of us have not been praying also for God to help us? Watch
what we're saying on a bishops. Watch us that we give
No.
Iebc.
Sikiliza medium before I leave.
Yes.
You think we have not been praying? I've stayed on this earth without prayer.
Yeah.
No, 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 no. That they are going to negotiate what? They were taking money from Ruto at night. And then they come back and they said they are negotiating with the man. They have allowed Ruto to insult the man. They say, yeah, at least this one is doing something for us. Then now you run to to President Uhuru Kenyatta, you want to negotiate with him for what? To negotiate what? Rubbish. Rubbish. Rubbish.
So what the DP also said, Doc, that he was stopped from attending the Security Council meetings 4 years ago. But remember, the DP has been telling us that he has information from the National Intelligence. Matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, he quoted an intelligence report that put him in the lead by 8%. But he's saying he was kicked out of the Security Council 4 years ago, so he has not been receiving any, he's not been attending the meetings, not knowing what is happening. And the reason that is why that happened is because he opposed the extrajudicial killings that he's accusing the police of participating. And this is a matter he brought when he was in Northeastern, and this is a matter he brought up yesterday during an interview. Why do you think he would choose this time to talk about this matter, and why does he think it is right for anything that was discussed in a Security Council meeting in private to bring it out in public, a matter of national security?
Miriam, thank you very much for that question. I was watching this stupid guy's interview. This is a malcontent who should not even be talking on TV, should be jailed. That guy has killed so many people here, and he talks about the killings. Ameua watu wengi hapa, ameua Meshak Iebc, ameua watu wengi sana hapa. You think we are going to keep quiet every time and watch and he's talking about the extra killings? How many people has he killed? He has killed very many people here and thrown them in Miami. Kwenda. Just get out. Alete. You want to tunamngojea sasa huyu. He's a shameful, stupid man. He has killed people. He's threatening everything. You are killing a very good country. This country is very good, man. This country is forever. It's very good. It's one of the best countries in Africa. And now you are killing it. You are killing it. Mnaua hii this country, haki ya Mungu. This was the only hope of Africa left. Miriam, I'm really very, 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 very. You know, I pity you people, you Kenyans. This was a very good country. You have killed it. The bishops started going to collect money. Now this one says he was not. Look at my article that I wrote on 3rd in March 15th. It's on my website. It's on my post. I wrote and I said, the DP says he gets intelligence. Now today he says he doesn't get intelligence. They are not ever gone to that meeting for 3 years. What a liar. Is that a man you want to give a vote? Umupatie. Don't cry for me, cry for your children, you people, mothers of Jerusalem. Hey, leo tunaambiana ukweli, wewe nani Captain from Nakuru. Hakuna mchezo leo.
Very true.
Yes. Miriam, if you have any sanity left for William Ruto, then it can be in the bedroom or in the toilet or in the kitchen. Now, hii television kuanza leo na Ruto tunamenyana paka mwisho. Those are the instructions. Tutamenyana na yeye, analeta ujinga, tunaleta ujinga. Afunge tuone. When rubbish. Stupid man.
Okay. So I think it will be a safe time to jump over the issue of Iebc, Doc, because I know we might not get you in the next few minutes. I want to get your thoughts on the main topic. I was actually waiting for you to join before you could start this topic, so good. Iebc boss Wafula Chebukati has downplayed allegations of divisions. I'm reading from page 4 of the Star newspaper today. He has downplayed allegations of divisions in the commission amid reports of a major split within the top brass. Some insiders grumble that the agency was being driven by Chebukati and select commissioners and secretariat staff to the exclusion of the rest. On Thursday, There were reports some commissioners were unaware of the arrival of the first batch of ballot papers until the last minute, but at a press conference, Chebukati denied claims of any differences. He said the decisions have been arrived at unanimously, and in cases where there has been a minority opinion, the concerns have been taken care of. The commissioners ask them to say whether they were not informed of the arrival of ballot papers. Management informed us last night at 8 p.m. and I informed the commissioners, Chebukati said. We are working together as a team and there is no information I am holding from the commissioners, he emphasized. But a senior official at the commission told the Star they were not aware of the arrival of the first batch of ballot papers from the Greek printer Inform Lycos. When contacted by the Star, a member of the team said it was true they got word about the arrival of the ballot papers just a few hours to touchdown at JKIA. Doc, start us off in this conversation. Doc?
Yes, thank you very much, Miriam. This is a shame. I don't know whether you are hearing me now.
Yes.
This is a shame. There are four commissioners going to resign in a minute because they said they don't want to be associated with anything that will come and be blamed for bringing down the country. In a minute, you just wait. That is the intelligence reports that are coming from there. For commissioners will be going down, will go down. They don't want to be associated with something they didn't know. They don't know, they didn't know, they will never know. This is already, the guy, you know, these are like thieves. When they hear that the police is coming, you know, guess what they did? They rushed very quickly and said, bring the papers before they close the papers out. Have you seen the clip which is running now, which is saying, where Tangula was saying, bring the papers before the police come, you know? Bring in the papers. You know, one of the things that worries me, Miriam, is that you people here in this country, you have a very difficult way of picking things. I have been telling people, you and I, on this platform, and all of us on this platform, we have been singing time and time again about Mr. Wafula. We have done episodes, we have done videos, we have done a documentary on Wafula meeting a court. We have done so many things here showing that Wafula meets Ruto. We have shown and cried. The office in Athens, a printer, there is no printer in Athens. These papers were printed in Italy. I want to shock you even now. The papers that came, they didn't come from Athens. They came from Rome. I've got the manuscript already. It is on my phone here. I can show you. There were no papers that came from Greece. So how do you give a contract to a man who goes to subcontract to another country to print the papers, yet you could have given the contract direct to those people? That is on international scene. It is corruption. You can't give a contract to subcontract unless they have, you know, both of them. Unless both of them, Miriam, have applied for the contract, but not both of them applied for the contract. Not both of them applied for the contract. You know, not both of them. Only one person applied for the contract. So the person who applied should be given. And that person then goes openly and publicly. He said he had the capacity to print. Okay, let's look at the tender documents. What do the tender documents say? Do you have the capacity when you are answering those questions? Do you have the capacity to print the ballot papers? You say no. Yes, you say yes. You have the capacity to deliver them, you say yes. Then why do you subcontract? Why do you subcontract, William? And all of you. So you can see, first, the ballot papers, Marquis did not come from Athens. They came from Greek, Italy, Rome, where they were printed from, because the company subcontracted them to that place. So the manifest is going to be published as soon as I step down from this car. I have it, and I'm going to sit and publish it to the Kenyans to show that there is no office of those guys in Greece. Those guys are just briefcase office that came to take our tender, your tender, and then make bloodshed for Kenya. This is a wrong thing, it's a shame. Two, Chebukati has now turned this into, Chebukati is leaving in September. He has only 2 months. He wants to make a decision. His term ends in September. So he thinks, if you look at this election, if this election is to run, to have a rerun, Chebukati would not have the mandate to run a rerun. You have already created a crisis. You know his term ends at the end of September. He doesn't know who will renew the term. Who will renew the term? The President of the Republic of Kenya will not. Who will be there before the rerun is done? Because the Uhuru would have not handed over. So the basic thing is for Chebukati to say, I am sorry, Kenyans, I missed this election, is not well prepared. So let's try and go back on the base and try to prepare. There's nothing wrong. Countries have cancelled elections before. You Kenyans cannot come around Africa and say, you are the only people who cannot cancel the date. Surely, that as if even the Constitution of the United States of America is flexible. What constitution is this in the world that is not flexible? What? No, Miriam, look at those parameters. You yourselves, Kenyans, discuss. Can you go on with an election, which you know, with now the 10 points that the nation, the Daily Nation, Miriam, read for these guys, the Daily Nation points. If those points have not already nullified your election, they have. We are printing papers without gazetting. We have not gazetted any printing of the papers. We have not gazetted any candidates. 16,000 candidates are not gazetted. Whom are you printing on these papers? Isn't it a shame? You have not gazetted. You are now printing a register which you have not shown Kenyans. You have not this. Which KPMG register are you printing? We don't know. You have not gazetted it. It's not gazetted. All these things are illegalities that end up to nullify the election. That's why I'm telling you, the best thing for Kenyans to do is to cancel the elections. And I think if Kenyatta stood up and said, I have cancelled this election, he would be supported by very many people. Yes, if President Uhuru Kenyatta stood and said, for the sake of this country, I will cancel this election. I want Ruto and Raila and all stakeholders to come for a conference in International Conference Center. And we look for a new electoral commission. We look for somebody, we prepare, give us 2 months, we thoroughly prepare and hold a free, transparent election. That will not bring chaos on the day when you announce. Otherwise, for me here now, I tell you, my dear sister, we are in for a big shocker, a big shocker. A shame, what a shame of Iebc. So you are going ahead to print the papers. Some of the people whose names you are putting on the papers, Miriam, are already in the court, notifying the court could notify them. You have wasted the money. Are you not wasting the government money? What type of election is this? I submit, therefore, this is a shame of Iebc. And may God help us. May God help you, Kenyans. And I believe God somewhere is listening. Please, come down and help us. Please, please, please.
Okay.
Please.
Doug.
You can see, Miriam, before I finish, you can, as I finish, you can see a thief. A thief runs very quickly at the airport. While her friends, the friends were addressing Kepsa. They didn't know, because he doesn't know how questions could be asked. But we have caught him. We have caught him now. Maybe Raila will accept, but me, if I were Raila, we just stick on the truth. And that is what that will set us free. Thank you very much, Miriam.
All right. Thank you.
I'm about to reach my destination.
I can see that.
So I want people to listen to what the views of Gladwell, Kiragu, and others are saying, so that I have spoken for 30 minutes. Let me keep quiet and listen to your views.
All right. Thank you so much. And yes, we need prayers, and I'm sure Bishop Oginde shall be praying. Doc, thank you so much. On the same matter, before Doc, you brought in the points there on the front page of the Daily Nation, and we shall look at them one by one. But the fact that, from what we are reading now, there is already a split among the commissioners at the Iebc, who others are saying did not even know the ballot papers, the first batch were arriving in the country until very late in the day yesterday, because the arrival of ballot papers is a big deal. So this is not some random things which some of the commissioners are not supposed to be aware. They were supposed to be told. So they were told at very late hours, just hours before touchdown at the JKIA. So are we seeing a telltale signs of history repeating itself as we saw play out within the commissioners in 2017, Gladwell? Oh, Douglas. I see Douglas has joined us. Let's hear from him first. Douglas Kirimi, good morning.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also Dr. David Matsanga, and also to my co-panelists, Kitanui, Xavier, and also Gradwell, Kiragu, and Jevan Karanja. Miriam nullified this election and charged the commissioners, charged Chebukati, and also called for fresh elections within 6 months or within 1 year, Miriam. Iebc is not technically prepared for these elections, Miriam. In the next 30 days, Iebc is going to ban this country. They are going to cause bloodshed in this country. And Miriam, we would rather have a nation rather than have corrupt individuals at Iebc. Nullify the elections. We would have lost billions of shillings, but we can reconstruct that. The reconstruction of 2007, 2008, Miriam, has taken a toll on us as a country and as a people. Many years later, Miriam, we have not fully reconstructed our nation. About 15 to 16 years later, Miriam, our country continues experiencing a lot of pain and anguish from that. And when we try to peel the mask of the ghost of 2007, 2008, and also try to make sure that things work for this country, Miriam, they do not work. We saw what the DCI was trying to serve justice to the families that were being threatened again, that if they don't vote for certain people, they are going to be threatened. Miriam, the only idea that can work at this point, 30 days to elections, Miriam, Chebukati is irredeemable. 2 years ago, we said that Chebukati is a criminal. Chebukati is an economic crime suspect, should be taken to court, should be jailed. Miriam, if there's a split within the commissioners of Iebc today, Wafula Chebukati seems to be reading from the same script with Moses Masika Wetangura, a man who has been widely named in all bad deals in this country and all manner of bad things. And at this point, Miriam, a time has come for us to put our nation first, rather than individual tendencies of self-importance and pride and ambition. The ambition of Raila Odinga is not bigger than this country. The ambition of William Ruto is not bigger than this country, including the greed of William Wafula Chebukati, the chairman of IEBC, is not bigger than this country. We need to be able to separate facts from fiction and put this country first, Miriam. The peace and tranquility that has been worked on since 2018 in this country is paramount, is important to the people of Kenya. We cannot go back to burning our people's property and life, Miriam. We cannot go back to the days of burning people in a church because they are not voting for William Ruto in Rift Valley, Miriam. We cannot go back to where William Ruto took us in 2008, Miriam. We can't go there because he's on the ballot. He can wait for 6 months or 1 year, recorrect the mistakes of IEBC, jail Wafula Chebukati, charge him in court, and jail him and other commissioners who have committed these crimes against the people of Kenya, and actually ask for a refund of those funds that they have misused, Miriam. Because I do not believe Wafula Chebukati has the best interests of the people of Kenya at heart. If the President of the Republic of Kenya takes pride in this nation, which I know he does, he should be able to call a special sitting of Parliament, explain his reasons why he should be able to read the function that says that we should nullify the elections of this country. There will be no even need for us to tell the country that we want President Uhuru Kenyatta to take charge for the next 6 months or 1 year. It is only that it is incumbent upon him to be in charge and also to be president for that period of time. We can actually have a transitional government, if so be it, and also that transitional government to run the affairs of this country as we actually take charge of IEBC and make sure that IEBC works and also IEBC delivers transparent, credible, credible, transparent, and fair elections in this country. Without free, fair, and credible elections in this country, Miriam, we are not going to take this country forward. We are going to bring it down, even sink it further than 2008. If a man was fighting for another man to have power in 2008 and killed children and women in church in 2008, what will happen when, Miriam, now that the same man is coming to the fore and is running for President of the Republic of Kenya, Miriam? This is a person that can stop at nothing until they ban this country. And I'm asking the people of Kenya, when these politicians push you for mass action, push you to go out of your way and fight for them, their children will be enjoying holidays in Switzerland and other world capitals, Miriam. They'll be in Brussels, Belgium, they'll be in London, in England, they'll be all over the place, Miriam, around the world, enjoying life as our country is being reconstructed. After you have lost your life and property, after you have lost your property like Andrian Moteshi, 100 piece of land in Rift Valley, a man would have taken his children to America. And Miriam, for us to be able to do that, for Savania to continue working and doing business in Nakuru, we need to postpone these elections. In short words, for Gradual to continue doing her thing and working and doing everything she can to make a living in this country, we should nullify this election. For me to move across this country and do business and build the nation, we need to nullify this election. It is a sham, it is a shame, and it is also the pity of our nation for us to join the Committee of Nations that continue plundering their country, and when the elections day come, they plunder, they break their country and plunder their country's resources using the electoral independent commissions of their country, respective electoral commissions of their country, to run their country down. We cannot run our country because Wafula Chebukati is greedy, Miriam. We cannot run our nation down because a man wants to be president. There is no ambition that is bigger than the aspirations and the dreams of the people of Kenya. Thank you. I submit.
Very well, thank you so much. And so there are 10 questions that the Daily Nation was able to pick from that press conference yesterday. Some were posed by the media, and I think some others IEBC was able to respond to. Let me just go through them quickly. They're on the front page of the Daily Nation, and then we shall look at them in detail on page 12 and 13. The first question, why have the names of 16,098 candidates not been formally published? The second question is, on what basis were ballot papers printed without the Gazette notice? The third question, does the printing of ballots before the gazettement of candidates expose IEBC to legal suits? Number 4, when was the ballot printer in Greece instructed to begin printing? Number 5, why were IEBC commissioners only notified on Wednesday night about the arrival of the first batch of the ballot papers yesterday? And the sixth question, who from the IEBC supervised the printing of the ballot papers in Greece? The seventh question, why the secrecy around the KPMG voter register audit report? The eighth question, why the insistence to clear candidates whose qualification to vie has been questioned? And the ninth question, why the push to have media take over the results tallying process? Interesting. And the 10th question, what's the Commission's position on allegations of interference by political actors? So let's see how IEBC perhaps attempted to respond to some of these very, very important questions that I believe Kenyans are looking to get answers for. Now, the electoral agency yesterday facing numerous questions after the surprise arrival of the first batch of ballot papers for the general election, even before publication of the candidate's name in the Kenya Gazette. Questions abounded on why the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission proceeded with the printing of ballot papers before the publication, whose delay the agency blamed on the government printer, which in turn protested incessantly by the Commission. A Gazette notice of 16,098 candidates contesting the 1,882 elective seats must precede printing of ballot papers. So that is a legal hurdle number one. Before these ballot papers were printed, as we all know now, the first batch already arrived in the country yesterday, there's supposed to be a Gazette notice. There is a clear procedure that must be followed, has been a tradition throughout all our democratic elections. But this time, Chebukati decided to do things differently. So that is one legal hitch that perhaps Chebukati might have to deal with. I don't know, what do you make of this, Kiptanui?
Miriam, thank you. Thank you so much. Miriam, I come from Rift Valley, and specifically I'm in Nakuru. And Miriam, things are not right. Things are not going on well. You see, Chebukati, as Daktari has said, he has only 2 months to live. But remember, he has actually joined hands with thieves to mess up these elections, Miriam. Miriam, as my brother Douglas Karemi has said, and I want to say this, can you imagine if the IEBC commissioners are surprised? They didn't know that their ballot papers are coming. What about the Raya? What about you, Miriam? What about Gladwell? What about me? Miriam, there is a problem in this country, and I want to say this. President Uhuru Kenyatta, you are here in 2007, 2008. There are some people, they want to mess up these elections to pin you. Daktari, I know you, President Uhuru Kenyatta is your friend. Pass this message to him. The country is not in good terms. Let us not trust this country, Miriam, to hand over power. Let us not trust this country, Miriam, because there are people in Wasingishu, Miriam, they don't understand what you are saying about legal issues. They want to see their person ahead. They want to see William Ruto becoming president without even votes. What do you think will happen, William? Those are the same people. They will still go back to. They are still around. They will still go back to what they did in 2007, 2008. They will ban people in churches also. They will kill them. Miriam, as I speak to you in the morning, and I want to say this, and I want to be on record. Miriam, in the morning, I called my people who are in Pan Forest. Remember, Pan Forest was the hotspot. I have a friend of mine called Mangi. He has been a victim of constellation violence from 2007 from 1992. 1992, the house was banned. 2007, and all those sequence of violence, Miriam. For this gentleman to enjoy living in the valley and for these people to enjoy, even Raila Odinga said the other time that immediately he took power, he will return people to their farms in Riroli. Riroli was named after 2007. It is not now Kabalelaj. 80% of the people who have farms there, William, are not doing any businesses. They are not doing anything because they are going back there. If we cannot correct these mistakes, where are we heading? We are heading to a bad state. Miriam, as we've said, and I thank God that this is the only platform we are speaking this thing. Why do you think these people are rushing to bring these ballot papers? Because they have already taken money. They didn't even print these ballot papers. They subcontracted other companies to print for this. Apart from going towards the legal mechanism that's going to nullify this before it is being nullified, Miriam, let us correct these mistakes. President Uhuru Kenyatta, I want to go on record. You are going to use a lot of resources to heal this country, and possibly your legacy will be destroyed by these few people. My president, talk to the speakers of the House, convince the parliament urgently. Let us postpone elections. We are not ready for these elections, Miriam. Raya are ready because they have the voting cards, they are ready. But you see, if there are some people that are not in those ballot in the Iebc register, we have some people who are still people. Miriam are preparing. People are now preparing for legal battle. So before this elections is going to be nullified, we would have wasted a lot of money. Let us postpone elections. Let us take Chebukati to court. Let Chebukati be jailed. Let us even postpone election for another 6 months. It will give us confidence, Miriam, that we are going to these elections when we have sorted out these issues. Miriam, there is a lot of tension in Rift Valley. Let me speak to you as a sincere, challenging man. There are a lot of tensions in Rift Valley, and not even Rift Valley alone, all over this country. Let us correct these mistakes before we take this country to tops. We go to take the country to darkness. I submit.
Mm-hmm. And Kiptanui, before I move on to the next panelist, from where you sit, sincerely, do you think postponing this election will bring more chaos, or will give us Iebc time to prepare for the elections properly? Will it plunge us into more chaos, or you think this will be the solution?
Miriam, postponing elections will not bring us any chaos, because we have not gone to these elections to elect people, and then we are told the elections have been nullified, there was a problem. It will give us more time to get prepared, Miriam. And let these politicians speak ill of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let them insult us, but we could have saved this country. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I think there are also a section of Kenyans who are really geared up towards this election, and they're looking forward, and they're very passionate about the candidates and the people they want to vote for. So I think if they hear these elections, will be postponed, that is not the official status. But if something like that could happen, I don't know if it will take a lot to convince them as to why we can't have these elections on the 9th of August. So, but we will see. Iebc has insisted it is right on course, and it is doing everything it can to make sure that we will be ready as a country to have these elections. But from what we've been seeing, a storm is brewing, and the legal battle perhaps is getting ready for the Iebc. And of course, the Iebc said it forwarded these names, the 16,098 candidates, to be gazetted by the government printer. And the Iebc said the government printer did not. And the government printer actually protested and said the commission was being insincere, that is not true. And the Iebc went ahead anyway and started the printing process. It is not clear which one of the commissioners was present, during the printing, and who was overseeing that process, because apparently there should be at least some commissioners there overseeing that process. It is not clear why Chebukati decided to do that, go ahead with the printing without the gazettement of these names. It has been, and it is a requirement by the law. And this is a question Iebc cannot fully answer. So are we likely to see somebody take this to the court before we look at other legal hurdles that IEBC has to overcome. Gladwell Kiragu.
Miriam, let me start by saying that actually 70 or almost 80% of Kenyans here, they don't, what they are just waking up to do on, for example, August, is actually to vote Miriam. They have no actually background on IEBC. And for example, yesterday, there's something that Dr. Matsanga posted on Facebook on his page, and the response of one person was very weird. And I actually asked the person, what do you understand about IEBC? The person didn't respond. So Kenyans, for example, if the elections is actually, let's say, postponed, there will be chaos. Reason being, Miriam, people are not waking up to vote out what they understand. They're just waking up to vote for the individuals. I wish people could understand more of what election means. It's not about waking up and I voting Raila or I voting Ruto or I voting when. No, there's so much. Again, Miriam, colonized is because we needed to have our own independence. But Miriam, are we independent yet? Because Miriam,
take me back to that to that sentence. You're saying the reason why we were colonized is because we needed to have our own independence.
Yes.
Make that make sense.
As per me. Miriam, let me finish my statement. I mean, us having our own independence, Miriam, that means that, for example, we only enjoy our independence only 4 years. Then when you go to the election year, everybody is actually shaking. We are all the country is in a confused state. So are we yet independent, Miriam? Again, Miriam, on the contract to print ballot papers, it was in Athens. But then there's information that there's a designated backup printer in Romania. So Miriam, can you see the two? And who we are present? They haven't even gazetted. Again, Miriam, now let me show you the irony here. In the course of this week, IEBC suspended 5 officials of involvement in illegal voter transfer in some parts of the country, for example, Kiambu, and Chebukati forwarded their names to DPP for further investigation for their misconduct. Now, again on Wednesday, there are some commission who didn't even have an idea that a batch of ballot paper was in the country. Mm-hmm. How is that, Miriam? So you can see my answer to all those questions is IEBC has IEB has a hidden agenda. It has got ill motives, and that is a red flag. Miriam, to be honest, you're going back to the 2007, 2008, and we will regret as Kenyans.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, the Commission raised more eyebrows with the admission, like you reminded us there, Gladwell, with the admission by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati of having only learned about the arrival of the ballot papers just hours to touchdown. Excuse me, let me just read that one more time so that I make sure we are on the same page. Am I reading that Chebukati also learned about the arrival of these papers just hours to let me just take that one more time. The Commission raised more eyebrows with the admission by IEBC Chairman Wafula Chebukati of having only learned about the arrival of the ballot papers just hours to touchdown at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Let's just have this in mind. This is not some random even papers from whatever. This is ballot papers for an already heated election, and the commissioners and some of them and the commission, from what the story is saying, did not know about the arrival of these ballot papers until just a few hours before they touched down at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I'm really trying to understand what this story is saying. Maybe you can help me understand that, Javen.
Yeah, thank you very much. That is the confusion that we have in the IEBC. And when we say that the election needs to be postponed, so at least IEBC can prepare adequately, this is what we mean. If the chairman of the IEBC was not privy that there are some ballot paper that were coming in the country, what makes us not believe that we might have some log politicians printing their own ballot papers and importing them in the country without the knowledge of the IEBC? This is so critical, and we should not joke with the elections. We know what happened in 2007, and if Miriam postponing this election will mean saving lives, will mean saving property, will mean protecting people from forced displacement, from their homes, then let it be, because there's no need to run for a shambolic election and then regret later. We better postpone it now, and whatever will happen now. We deal with it now, and we prepare adequately for that election. And I think what we just need is just a timeline. We just need to say, if we are postponing this election, till when? So because to avoid leaving a vacuum, because when you leave a vacuum, that is when things run out of hands. If we can say this is the IEBC has not prepared adequately, but we can give them like 6 months, 4 months to prepare, and we go for the election, that can make sense. And I think most Kenyans will agree. But if we just cancel it and we leave a vacuum, then it will be more of a disaster than what we are trying to protect in the first place. Because they say prevention measures are more effective than the curative ones, because when you go for the curative one, you are already injured. You have already suffered the consequences of not following the preventive measures. I think if we can prevent it now, is a bit better, but we need to do it with the caution, bearing in mind the nature of politics in this country, bearing in mind the heat of the political sphere in the country, is something that need to be addressed with caution. But Miriam, if postponing this election is a solution, then that what needs to be done. And Miriam, you can read a lot of confusion in the Wafula-led commission. And I think Wafula Chebukati slept on his job. And I think for the last 5 years, what has he been doing? Because he has been in the office. He has been doing a lot of other processes like the by-elections and so on. Why is it that is only the presidential ballot that is attracting lots of confusion, lot of uncertainty, because we still have the independent candidate pursuing their way through the legal process? Therefore, we are looking at a very unclear future when it comes to the polls towards August. And I think something needs to be done, and Kenyans need to learn, and even our parliaments, our political leaders, and as Kenyans, we need, as we go to these votes, let's be electing people who can protect our future, because even the members of parliament, the legislators, have failed because they have not brought on legislations that could have held Chebukati responsible. They didn't raise the alarm when the sun was still up. But now, when things are running off control, is when they are demanding that Wafula Chebukati to submit the manual, whatever, to do this, to provide the electronic, not to do that. They are devising Chebukati instead of coming up with registrations that are more effective than the talk that they are giving in top of cars. This is so difficult. This is something that Kenyans need to wake up and elect leaders who can protect and who can guarantee Kenyans that they will streamline the electoral process. Because all the problems that we have been having in this country politically, they all emanate from the IEBC commission. They all emanate from electoral commissions. Because if we have a fair election, a credible election, nobody will go and dispute the results. But because of these loopholes that Wafula Chebukati is creating now, is giving room for politicians to dispute the elections, to petition the outcome. And what that means is that Kenyans, we don't know, things might erupt. So let's hope for the best. Mm-hmm. But in future, this is not the way to run these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So, of course, the revelation that IEBC commissioners were only notified at 8 p.m. on Wednesday suggested an ambush on the transportation of the ballot papers that raised queries about the process and the supervision of the printing. And so it appears to be an ambush, of course, among some commissioners and even the country. I don't think we were aware. In fact, we were notified yesterday while we were here on air that the first batch of the ballot papers had arrived. So you have to wonder about the storage of these ballot papers. I want to hope that IEBC had prepared adequately for this storage in a manner that will ensure security and guarantee integrity of these ballot papers? Because, there has been some claims and allegations flying around of some sections wanting to tamper with these ballot papers. So, security that guarantees the integrity of these ballot papers also is something in question now. Can we bank on that, Kiptanui? Kiptanui, can you hear me?
Can you come up again?
Okay, so I'm saying, by arrival of the papers yesterday, it looks as though it was an ambush. We didn't even know the first batch of the ballot papers were to arrive as a country. We were not aware of that. Same as to some of the commissioners in that commission were only notified, I think, just a few hours before the ballot papers arrived in the country. So now that means that perhaps IEBC had prepared adequately. I don't know how, if the commissioners didn't even know about the storage of these ballot papers and the security in the manner in which it will guarantee the integrity of these ballot papers. Is it something that we need to worry about, or should we just rest assured that IEBC knows what it's doing and everything is okay?
We need, Miriam, thank you. We need to be so worried. Miriam, IEBC is run by one man. It's a show run by one man. If your fellow, if your commissioners were not even aware that the ballot papers were coming to this country, Miriam, we are supposed to get worried. We are supposed to get worried. I thank God for those few commissioners, Miriam, who are sincere. Those commissioners, they are not supposed to be celebrated, Miriam. They don't want to join hands with Chebukati to ban this country. They don't want to join hands with Chebukati. And that is why I said earlier that Chebukati does these things, because he has taken money. The way Daktari said, he ran this show and brought in these ballot papers. Before even the DCI, he travels to Athens to check where these things were being printed. So we are supposed to get worried. It is so shame. It is so shame. I want to applaud those commissioners to still not stand between. Let them stand on behalf of Kenyans. We trust them. We don't trust Chebukati, Miriam. It is shame, and we are not supposed to tolerate this. We are so worried, and the country is worried. Surely, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So now, of course, the Electoral Commission has denied a plot to print extra ballot papers to rig the presidential election, even as Uganda, that was dragged into the alleged scheme, was yet to comment on the matter. The Ugandan High Commission in Nairobi is yet to issue a formal response over Kenya's general election interference claims leveled against it by Azimio's presidential candidate Raila Odinga. This is despite our inquiries, that is the Daily Nation's inquiry. Sorry, let me just take that. This is despite our inquiries over the allegations made by Mr. Odinga. So what the Daily Nation is saying, it even took its time to reach out to the Ugandan High Commission here in the country to respond to these allegations. But the High Commission of Uganda in Kenya did not respond to this matter. That is what the Daily Nation is reporting this morning. The Greek embassy in Nairobi is also yet to confirm whether it received a letter allegedly authored by Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula requesting to have Mr. Joshua Abdallah Makoha, whom he described as personally known to him, facilitated with a Shenzhen travel visa to Athens, Greece on a doubtful mission. Inquiries made to the Ugandan High Commission in Nairobi in an email had not been responded to by the press time. However, the Greek embassy on Wednesday could not comment on the matter as the ambassador of Kenya, Antonios Sgapoulos, was out of the country. We acknowledge with thanks receipt of your email. We would, however, like to inform you that His Excellency Mr. Antonios Sgapoulos, ambassador, is out of the country. Read the email from Ms. Betty Nderi, an official at the Greek embassy. This comes as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission dismissed claims that it is planning to print extra presidential ballot papers that will reportedly be marked in favor of Deputy President William Ruto. And I think the IEBC now has offered to facilitate anybody, all the stakeholders, all the political stakeholders, to a visit in Greece to see how the printing process is ongoing, for whoever who will be willing to do that. But why would they ask for that right now? Well, we already have the first batch of the ballot papers arrive at the country. Would it make any difference as we speak, Gladwell?
Miriam, can they stop? Wache kutukula kichwa, because Miriam, the batch has already arrived in the country. So why would they now say? We only then have 32 days. Now, why would they say that if you're interested to go check about the printing of the ballot papers, a presidential aspirant, you can go? Why now? Again, the rate at which the IEBC is actually conducting their issues, it's actually very worrying. And Miriam, I said, the secrecy that this commission is actually having, that's a red flag. And that's why I've said that we are going back to the post-election violence, Miriam, with the way they're conducting things. So actually, if then they have this time tell the presidential aspirant that you can go check on how the papers that are being printed, then we also have the time to say that, Wafula, can you resign? Because that 2 days remaining, they don't seem to make sense to them. So also to us, can we also say then the IEBC, can Wafula Chebukati being the chairman resign? We need somebody stable. And that's why we are saying, can we push the election so that we can have somebody stable and in sober mind who can actually lead us into a better election? Again, Miriam, yesterday there's something, responding to Raila Odinga, there's something Wafula said, that IEBC does not and cannot be swayed by anybody to grant favors, and says that it is an independent institution. Hence, now if there will be no voters, if the electoral body will not provide both the money and electoral voters. He was responding to Raila Omolo Odinga. So you can see, the kind of response they're saying, that she cannot be sued by anybody for favors, yet already it has. So, and IEBC actually is not being conducted by one person. No, actually it's a team that have joined hands together, and that's why we can see currently the DP is very quiet. And yesterday I was listening to him, I don't know where he was, and he said that if you're not comfortable with what IEBC is doing, come face me. Why is he comfortable for the first time? We know he has never been comfortable with the IEBC the way it does, but he's very comfortable. So as Kenyans, can we be wise? And that's why I said only 80%, only 20% of Kenyans actually understand what IEBC means. The other 80%, they only understand that I'll just be waking up in the morning on August, the 9th of August, just to vote, but you actually don't understand anything about IEBC. Can we first understand about IEBC so that we can be comfortable going out to vote there?
All right, and this invite by IEBC to facilitate a visit by any of these political stakeholders to go to Greece, it's very interesting, because why now? Sounds like something I would probably tell my son when I'm attending. I want to attend maybe a baby shower, and I ask, do you want to come? If you can come if you want, because I know he's not going to agree to follow me there. This sounds like it. This sounds exactly like it, because if he wanted these people to go there, and which has been the tradition during our elections, they usually go there before, or even just as it is starting, before we hear of any batch of ballot papers having arrived in the country. So now the first batch has arrived. So I don't know what will be the purpose of this visit, but I guess we will see some of these politicians go, because I think this is a question that was raised, and it's always important for them to just go see so that they can have confidence in the whole process. Now, even as the first batch of the ballot papers have arrived, if the printers were given the list before it had been gazetted in the official Kenya Gazette, it means the printing was done before there was legal list of candidates. That is another question that is being listed. So this printing that has, and the ballot papers that have arrived in the country, from this story, there's a probability that these ballot papers were printed even before that IEBC asked for these names to be gazetted. Okay? Maybe before even the official KPMG report. I don't know, but from this story, there's a lot to unpack. And by itself raises questions as to what would happen if for one reason or the other, the list have to be amended, given that some of the nominations are still being contested in court. That will mean some of these ballot papers, which you don't know which ones are they that have arrived in the country, might have to go back for reprinting, because we do know there are a couple of nominations that are being contested in the courts right now that have not been cleared. So if at all those are one of the papers that have arrived in the ballot papers that have arrived in the country, I don't know what that will spell for IEBC, Javan.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam, for that good question. And this shows that if IBC is not even aware of what is happening in regard to the presidential ballot paper printing, then this shows that they have slept on their job. It is not long time ago when IBC was crying that they don't have enough resources to run this election effectively. Now they are mismanaging and misusing the money, printing the ballot paper prior to the official printing, or prior to when every process is done and settled. Therefore, this rush will cost them some loss. They will lose some money. And I don't know how they will replace the money that will go to waste when they run these kind of activities, because they still need the money to ensure that we have a very smooth, swift, and verifiable polls as we head to August 9th date. Therefore, a lot needs to be done. And Wafula Chebukati and his commission, they have slept on their job. And at this time, they're trying to jump up and down, holding some press and so on. But when you look at it keenly, it is the same Wafula Chebukati who said that we should forget about the manual register and do the electronic system, the electronic process during this election. But now he seems to have changed the tune, and he agrees with the former prime minister that we need to have a backup kind of system, so that those who will not be identified by the biometric gadgets, they'll have to go through the manual process, which to me is quite good, because it will give all Kenyans a chance to cast their votes. Therefore, Wafula Chebukati, this election, unlike in 2017, where he seems to had some kind of clarity, this one has beaten him on his own game, and I think he should raise to the occasion and be honest with Kenyans and tell us whether he is ready for this election. He might be ready for the governor and the MCA seat, but for the presidential election, he seems not to be well prepared, because we still have the independent candidates who are pursuing the legal path to ensure that some of them will be included on the ballot. And if Wafula Chebukati has already printed the ballot, that means they will have to redo that. Therefore, all this kind of uncertainty, all this issue of holding information from the public and just doing things out of their own way without involving the public, because the public and the politicians are the great shareholders in this election. Most of the politicians, and I have not even the politicians, they are caught unaware that we have some ballot papers already in the country. Therefore, this thing, Wafula Chebukati should involve all the parties who are key stakeholders in these elections to ensure that he doesn't do things his own way. And I think if he does that, maybe they will come to understanding that this election is not well planned. This process will not result to the dream or the aspirations of Kenyans. So the best we can do is we postpone it for some months, and we prepare adequately, and we go on with the election. This country will not stop because an election has been postponed for 2 or 3 months. Mm-hmm. The life will go on, and we will have enough time to protect this country from the things we saw in 2007. Therefore, Wafula Chebukati and the team and every person who is involved in this election, they need to raise up. They need to wake up from the slumber and come out and face Kenyans and tell us candidly whether they are ready for this election, more so the presidential election. And we know that is where the problem is. And I think until the day we'll do away with this kind of a do or die presidential ballot, this kind of competitive presidential ballot, I think that's when things will go well. And I think we need a solution in this process, because as you look at now, even the polls are showing that this country is almost divided on the middle. We have the supporters of the William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga, and they don't understand. And the reason why we have a heated general election in this country is because of the presidential ballot, because it's like a do or die for the politicians and their supporters. And I think that is why you're finding William Ruto and Raila Odinga, they're standing firm with their opinions. William Ruto is opposed to the manual register and the other process. Raila Odinga is welcoming the same. Therefore, all this is to prepare their supporters and to hold them ransom as they wait for a point where they can attack and cause confusion as we head to these polls. I think more needs to be done, but Wafula Chebukati needs to wake up from the slumber and do his job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and just going back to the list that seems to have been gazetted, it seems to have let's just go back to the Gazette notice that the Iebc issued. I think there's some information here that is very important, even as we wrap up the show in a couple of minutes. Documents in our possession, that is the Daily Nation. Documents in our possession show that the document from Iebc was received at the government printer on Friday, July 1st, for the Gazette notice, the one that Iebc wrote for the Gazette notice to the government printer. So that arrived at the government printer on Friday, July 1st. In a note accompanying the material, Iebc Chief Executive Marjan Hussein asked the printer to please urgently publish the same on a special issue of the Kenya Gazette dated July 1st, 2022. In essence, Iebc was asking the government printer to publish the document and distribute it on the same day received. Remember the amount of names that the government printer had to print, so of course that was humanly impossible. Now, the source told the Daily Nation last evening that it required at least 10 days to compile the Gazette notice, given the bulkiness of the document. The list included 8 pages on the appointment of county and constituency returning officers, 208 pages of presidential, governor, Senate and National Assembly and women representatives and candidates, 450 pages of candidates for members of county assembly and 850 pages of polling stations. The documents had 1,516 pages in total. It would have been technically impossible to publish such a bulky document within the time the Iebc asked in the letter to us, said the source, whose identity the Daily Nation cannot reveal because of the sensitivity of the matter. So this is a person, a source from the government printer. And what is the letter from the Iebc asking for this Gazette notice was on the 1st of July. Today is the 8th of July. So if the government printer said it required about 10 days to print this and to make this public and to give this public notice, so that means 10 days have not lapsed yet. And we already have the first batch of the ballot papers in the country. Contrary to the law, the Gazette notice should go up first, and then the ballot papers can be printed that bears the names of the candidates on the Gazette notice. Are we together until that point? So what I'm wondering is, for Iebc to just go ahead and act outside the confines of the law. And this is not the first time. Remember, the register, the voters register, is supposed to be made public about 60 days towards the general election. That voters register is not even out yet. We don't know. We don't know. But I did check through the text. I was told I'm there. But we don't know. But it should be a matter of public access right now as we speak. That is not there. But the fact that the IEBC would go ahead and the speed at which the questions have been raised about the speed in which the Greek printer delivered on the IEBC assignment, and how quick this was delivered. Does it raise more? I know we would, in normal times, we'll hail this as very efficient, and we'll be clapping for IEBC for being efficient and very timely. But owing to this background and the illegality in which now we can see it has been based on, if the government printers requires 10 days, the letter from the IEBC of containing the same notice was received on July 1st. Today is July 8th. So perhaps this Gazette notice is supposed to be out in 2 days or so. But the ballot is already in the country. The first batch is already in the country before this notice is out. I don't know where we are going with this, and why would IEBC bravely do something against the law that Wafula Chebukati, even being a lawyer, understands clearly is used to do with the process when it comes to such processes. Kiptanui.
As I said earlier, Miriam, Chebukati writes this thing because he has already received some millions of money. He has received millions of dollars. So he is rushing this thing, and he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer, no. He's a lawyer, and he's aware that the allocation of 2017 elections was based on irregularities. And this, as you said, you see the time frame between the Gazette notice and the ring of these ballot papers has not even expired. So it should be 10 days. To do in 2 days. So how is he going to convince us that he was not rushing these things because he's part and parcel of the system that is eating this money? There is a problem, Miriam. That is why I've said earlier that Chebukati anatukula kichwa, the way my sister Gladwell has said. Let us be told the truth, and let us be told the truth, and that is the basis of manipulation of this. Miriam, we have confidence this Friday to say that let us postpone this election because of this things which are happening, which is now happening. Now I was actually online in Facebook, and I realized there are many people, Miriam, are actually siding with us because there is no need for us to go for this election. We are not prepared. There is no preparation over there. Now, if Chebukati is not actually rushing these things because he has taken this thing and he's a lawyer, Miriam, what is he? What is it happening with this gentleman? It is trying as much as possible to set a basis for legal battle, and it will happen. One person can go to court, as I said earlier, in 2 days time. But one person can go to court and challenge Chebukati, and this election will be nullified based on what you are saying, my sister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And some very sad breaking news. Earlier on, a former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was shot. He was attending, it was a political rally, I think. But from what I can see, he has passed on from the gunshot. So former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, has just died after being shot. He was shot just a couple of hours ago, and that is the breaking news that we have. And he was attending a rally event in the west of the country. That is according to reports, and he was shot maybe about 5-6 hours ago, and now he has been reported dead, according to the national broadcaster in Japan. The former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is dead. So our condolences there, and that is a developing story. But even as we conclude on this matter, Jevan, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around why IEBC would go ahead and engage in a matter that is clearly an illegality. Given notice on the 1st of July, then they say the government printer has not responded, as quickly. But the government printer said, no, you're being insincere. Because when you look at the bulk of the documents that they're required to print out and make public, at least it requires them about 10 days to piece everything together before that gazette notice. So it could not have been done as soon as IEBC wanted. But IEBC didn't care that the gazette notice is not out by the government printer. IEBC went ahead and with the printing, and we saw the batch of the first ballot papers in the country yesterday. So this is a very clear violation of the law. And Wafula Chebukati, as a lawyer, understands very well this could be a ground for a legal challenge in the court, but went ahead and did it anyway. Why would he do that?
Thank you, Miriam. He can only do that if he is part of the problem. If he is there to cause chaos. He can only do that if he is part of the group that want to disrupt this election, that wants to cause chaos in this country, because then go out there violating the law, and you are the referee in this very critical process. That shows then you are not keen on ensuring that Kenyans have free and fair election. Mm-hmm. You are not keen on ensuring that all the recommendations are followed to the left. What you are just looking for is bringing chaos, is a way of pushing for a certain candidate. Maybe from the look of things, Wafula Chebukati must be having a birthright. He must be having he must be supporting one candidate in this presidential election. That is why maybe to ensure maybe he gives his candidate an upper hand. Because when we allow these kind of things to happen, ballot paper without following the due process or doing all these kind of things, that means that we might end up having extra ballot papers, which are so many, which are so huge, and that means that creates a big room for electoral mark, and people voting even twice and marking these ballot papers and so on. Therefore, a lot needs to be done, and Wafula Chebukati is part of the problem that need to be solved as we head to this election.
Okay, thank you so much. So as we wrap up the show, Kitanui Savania, the show is Unfiltered, the week that was. So also we get to share some of the stories that stood out for us during the week. So I don't know in particular, just one of the key maybe news items that has stood out for you during this week.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for having me on this show and on this Friday. This is my take, Miriam. And what it shocked me is the revelation of what is happening in IEBC. I think that those are the main major news that are taken on the whole of this week. That all of a sudden, Chebukati is bringing the ballot papers. Chebukati is not prepared. Chebukati is coming out defending himself. When he is being asked to provide the manual register, he is there defending himself. So what it does, this week actually has been a sad week, because whatever the mess we under, the mess that IEBC did in 2017, it seems they have not corrected. You remember one of the commissioners of IEBC decided to sign and rush out of this country. Chebukati was accused. And I don't know why it's taking so much time, Miriam, not to be correcting these things. Another thing, Miriam, I observed at the course of this week, Miriam, is actually the news, or is what our brother Remy was bringing us down there at the coast. Many people on this social media platform, Miriam, are applauding him that he went there and he has documented. There are a lot of corruption, not even allegations, my sister, but the corruption that is the corruption proceeds that has been used to develop or to build some hotels in Mombasa. Miriam, there is one time when we would have left this country. What are we going to be remembered with? Miriam, elections is a process, and we've seen so many countries, Miriam, going to chaos, rioting, killing each other because of elections. Let us not make these elections to be so emotional, Miriam, that will bring this country that has been built. Uhuru Kenyatta, we've seen Punchline Africa TV led by Daktari showcasing your project that you have done since 2013 up to now. You are going to retire. Let us not take this country to the dark ages. You've done a lot, President Uhuru Kenyatta, we've seen, and we thank Punchline Africa TV for showcasing this. But this one can be destroyed in one day if we leave this country to these people to run. Let us not run this country to run. Let us not rush as if we are going to die the next day. We still have the country. We still have people who are depending upon us. And I want to encourage all of you, Miriam, in Punchline Africa TV, do not be silent by anybody. Speak the truth, and the truth will set us free. As we are starting the Sabbath, I wish you happy Sunday. May God bless you so much.
All right, thank you so much. That is Kitanui Savania, who has been with us during the whole of this week. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution. Jevan Karanja, what stood out for you during this week?
Yeah, Miriam, there's this audio clip that is going around the country of William Ruto trying to threaten, telling us how he could have slapped the president simply because of a minor, because President Uhuru Kenyatta didn't seem to sing the chorus that William Ruto expected from him. And I'm left wondering, as a people and as a society, where have we reached to this level where if someone disagrees with your opinion, the only option that is left is giving them slaps or blows? Then this shows that as a country, we need, that is not how leaders should behave. Leaders should be tolerant. Leaders should understand to respect other people's opinion, but not going to the extreme. And that shows that Deputy President William Ruto is a man who can push his way, is a man who is so ambitious, and he can do everything to ensure that he becomes the next president of this country. And if he thinks he can think of slapping the president, what will happen if he happens to become the president and he disagrees with his minors, he disagrees with his deputy? What will they experience? What will they get from him? What will Kenyans who will disagree with his way of leadership get from him? If you are not heading to the Nyati and Nyayo house, which were there during the Moi era, I don't know where we are heading as a country. That is so unfortunate, and these are not things that even the deputy president should be bragging about. It's not, Crowley is not something that should be even be going viral, because we are not teaching good morals to our children. Even it's not a good way of doing things, Miriam. Thank you for having me on the show, and may our viewers and all of the panelists have a blessed and fabulous weekend.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, thank you, Jevan Karanja. Thank you, Kiptanui. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi, who was with us earlier, but I think suffered a beautiful technical hitch, together with Gladwell Kiragu and Dr. David Matsanga, who was on transit. Thank you so much for your time. As I said there earlier, former Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, was shot earlier, and now he has been pronounced dead. And right, so that happened just a couple of hours ago. The former Japan Prime Minister is dead, and he was assassinated by a 41-year-old lone gunman while addressing a public rally. And that is still a developing story, and still on the international front. In case you don't know, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, has resigned. He did resign yesterday, which means there will now be a new leader, a leadership election to decide who becomes the next Conservative leader and Prime Minister. They will have to secure the backing of Tory MPs, that is the Conservative Party, with the final two candidates going to a ballot of Conservative members. But who are the potential candidates? And I see some of the potential candidates have been outlined here. And remember, most of these MPs and ministers have not yet said whether they want the job as a Tory leader. So they just, the newspapers is just speculating. So I think that is just some of the news that are making headlines globally. Thank you so much for your time throughout this week. This has been Unfiltered. My name is Miriam Mugoto. It has been a pleasure. I'll see you on Sunday with another edition of Africa Showdown, where we shall be looking at some of the latest happenings from within and across the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Mugoto. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.